What you doing?
I'm going to model a concrete table today.
Okay. You know you weren't going to use it.
No, I think you're wrong. This time I am going to use it. I'm going to start with a box. So hello anybody, this is Blender Pretender. Today I plan to work with Blender 2.8. I should show right off the top here that if I show the splash screen, it's Blender 2.83.2, and the latest bug fix build. The splash screen that I show there is 2.81. Because I just haven't redone that little cartoon. So let me open the, don't save this file. I've already set up everything. So I have references even here. And so I plan to model a concrete table is going to be more like this. I think this is the one that I'm going to focus on right here. In terms of the shapes and everything. It's just a very standard commercial table like you would see in some of these establishments. This is the exact same table, I think, but it has some hardware. But for today, I think it's about 10 o'clock right now. It's 10:12, and it's Saturday. It's April the 18th, and I think for about an hour's time, I can dedicate to trying to get a model of that shape of what you see right there. So let me see if my buttons work. So back to the file here. So this is just a regular startup file. I already saved the file, so I don't have to worry about, finding where to go and save it and how to start. So anyways, standard file, standard camera and everything. I'm going to take the camera really quick and just shove it to a new collection. Collection 2 is fine. Alt A. And I thought I moved it to collection 2. Yes. So by hitting the... excuse me. Yeah, by hitting the 1 and the 2 on the number pad, and I just started the screencast keys there. The 1 and the 2, it toggles the collection. So maybe I'll move that one light also to collection 2. That way I'm just focused on the square here that I'm going to do. And let me get this going as well. All right. Very standard, typical. So this is going to be one of those arrays in a circle, I think. Just to start, if I were to go in the one on the on the number pad, and then looking at the orthographic view that can be seen over there. If I were to draw this by annotations, I'm just thinking. So this is the plane here. I'm just thinking that it has a cross section. I'm going over this right here because my references, which one was it? This one. Okay, so my references are not, none of them show an actual section. And so I have some other references. This is what I'm going to go for in terms of the shape. I have others here. I looked at this one. It's very similar in structure, except that it's square. And then there's this one over here. So I'm going to try to copy some of these little bevels that are, or little rounded bevels that are seen here. So I'm not going to keep those edges simple like that, but copy that. And then if I do get to do materials, I won't be in this video for sure because it takes a while just to do the modeling. If I do another video just to follow up with the materials, I'll try to do that broken little tile, or it's not broken tile, but it's like concrete with different colors there. So anyways, some of these are all references, but I have none that show an actual section. So I'm going to try to do a section just to target, for me to target right now, and I'm going to do it with the grease pencil is what I'm going to do. And I'm still getting used to the keys. The keys that you see down here, they're just keys that I use for the OBS software. So I'm going to tab in, grab everything in the Z, and bring it up 1. All right, let me tab out again. I'm going to draw with the annotation tool. I said grease pencil, but it's going to be the annotation tool, really. just from looking at the picture, it looks like I have, and I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't ignore and what's going to happen. So it's going to be arrayed 4 times around. And if I were to look at a section, it probably does something like this. Let's say it goes like that, and the concrete itself, this is where it sits, and then maybe comes up like that, with the table itself sitting somewhere like that. The seat, the bench itself, and then the table itself sitting somewhere like that on top. So what I want to do is model this section here. A couple of ways to approach it is model that section very simply, and let me go back to the reference then just to show. There appears to be here an interlocking system there. So I have to figure out about whether I want to do that, because the easiest way for me to approach it instead is to just model this section that I just drew right here in mesh. You know, just get into the mesh, model this, solidify it, and then just copy it or array it in a circular fashion. There's the options of obviously doing an array versus with a object. While I model one, it'll do the rest, and I can see how it comes together. So maybe I'll do that. So let me start by doing the section that I just talked about, and let me make this bigger. I hope the numbers over here, that doesn't get in the way. They kind of compounded with the stuff that's. I'll just move it. Real time. Let me see if I can just grab it and move it over back to where they used to be. They compound a little too much with the other numbers that are there, and so I have to remember to turn it off. All right, so I'm back over here on the. So all I need is the face, one face. So I'm going to choose 3 to select the face, Control Invert, and then X, and then the faces, everything. Take that face, and I have the cursor there. It's already centered, the cursor, so I'm going to scale in the Y0. I didn't do the, I didn't do a period. 3D cursor, scale, Y0, enter, and that just puts it in the shape that I need, so I can start manipulating these. So I hit 1 for the vertices, and I'll grab these, and then grab them in the X. I already know, in the Y rather, and these, what? My goodness. So I am at the global. I wonder if they keep toggling back and forth. Right now, this is the X-axis, and in previous, every time I download Blender, oh, there it goes, in X. They have switched around whether the X would toggle initially the global versus the local versus the global. They've been going back and forth. Just have to take my word on it. Anyways, I already know that that's 1 increment because the default cube starts in at 2 at 2. So I just went over 1 to put these at the 0 point. Take those 2 vertices, grab in the Z, bring them back up to about there. Right now, this is just a big old eyeball as to how this thing is going to be. So let me just take these and grab in the X and move them. Well, let me move them like this. Let me make that plane all the way that I want to over here. There's a couple of ways to do this, I suppose. The fastest is probably if I just use the knife tool. Like, for example, if I were to go knife and then maybe start here, hit C to get enter. So I just cut my plane right where I see that right there. And I'm going to go to the knife tool again. And this is not super round, by the way. So I'm going to go from that point to about that point. I'm going to pick a point here. And I'm going to use C here to get in here, and then take the C off, and then go back somewhere on that edge. Enter. So with a knife, I just cut up a few vertices, tracing a couple of things here. Take those faces and delete the face. 1. So back into the vertex editing, I'm going to grab that one in the X, and then just bring it over here. I'm using control and it starts snapping. The snapping is set at increments for the grid. I usually don't do that. I'll fix that in a minute. It's not that it has to be fixed. It's just not my preference. And then this one, let me go and look at the photo here again. It's just straight. No, it's curved. I can barely see a curve there. This one seems to be like for handicapped, but it gives you an idea that this is a curved surface coming down this way. But here you get an idea. It's a bit curved right there as well. And when you look at it, this one doesn't look too curved. So it's kind of angled with a very mild curve at the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a knife tool again and then go knife and then maybe choose that one. I'm going to put an intermittent vertex somewhere here that is going to connect to that one here eventually and then come down to about here. Enter. Then I'll grab that one and grab it in the X rather. Maybe make it more. So what we see is a curvature. Oh, I forgot to switch the. So what I did is I used the knife tool and I went through here. Let me Control Z that just so I can show it rather than just talking while I'm showing a photo. So I did knife there, one point there that's going to be corresponding to that one in terms of an edge, and then one point there. Enter. Then I grab that point, grab X, maybe here. So what I'm planning to do is that when I add a modifier here for the subdivision, it's going to smooth some of this out, maybe smooth some of this out, and then maybe that one. I'm going to grab it in the Z, and here's where I'm going to go in and do my snaps, but I want my snaps on vertex. I want the active one to be the one that's snapping, and I want for all three conditions there. So anyways, that one, grab Z, and then snap to that one, so that they're planar in the YX plane. So here, I'm just selected those, and I hit join. Now, if I don't want the annotations to show, all I have to do is go in here and turn those off for a second. There's also this, I think here or here maybe. No, not here, but here, annotations. So I don't always have to go, let's say for example, probably easier to do it like that. If I were to go and turn this off here and hit these instead. Matter of fact, I could probably even add this one to the assign a shortcut or the quick favorites. There you go. So using Q, I can turn them off, toggle them off and on. So probably easier to do that. Control save. XV. So here's a very simplified version. And now I'm going to go back to my reference here. So the one that's commercially accessible, like anybody can go to one of these establishments, and it's very, very narrow here. I wonder, this one is not. This one is curved. So I'm going to go for the curved one, even though I have like that one as a reference. I'm going to go for this curved one. And I'm going to stick with that, with what I've got, because it looks a little odd right now. Let me go and stray a little bit from that, just to try to give it some thickness in here. And take those and join them. So I'm looking at this right now, seeing if I have any quads. If there's going to be a problem. So this is the quad. This is not. So I'm going to take these two, go W subdivide, take these two and join them. And this is not a quad either. So I'm going to take do the same thing, W subdivide, and then take those and join them. And this one, maybe grab it in the X and then snap to that one. So it gives you an odd shaped one right there and an odd shaped one right here. I want this point up here because the curve is going to be milder up there. And so this is a quad. Control save. Tab out. So now let's go back. What a mistake. Okay. I just noticed This is not turning out too well. Looking at the reference and looking back. Usually I have my references in here, but I have so many monitors, I might as well make use of them now, especially since I have this drawing tablet here, drawing pad. Let me go back and do what I just did. What I did, and let me see, the Control Z does it. Okay, so the idea was I need, this is a quad here. This is not a quad, and this is not a quad. So the idea is basically to get some quads in here. I just subdivided those because it gives me the point in the center. That's why. And W subdivide that one as well. So I have these subdivided, and then I took these, joined that, and then joined that. So now they're all quads going all the way through. Maybe I don't want this one in the center. Maybe I do. The reason I say that is because for the purposes of the curve, when it goes through the subdivision, depending on how closer it is to one of these, it affects how the curve comes out. So I'm going to Control R this one over here, just to put another point there. So I want it kind of smooth coming down and then curving around. This is going to flatten it a little bit, and I'm going to have to manipulate these a little bit just to get that curve to go. And I want this one to stay away from these because I want these to look somewhat uniform, somewhat what we see in the reference. All right, I'm going to put another a loop right in here. So anyways, now I'm out of that. I'm going to go to the modifier, which is, I've done this a lot. I've used this one a lot when I do the, I'm going to put it in the center by putting that at 0. Everything else is fine. And then just increase the thickness to what I think is going to be appropriate for the reference. I think I got an idea. For the reference, maybe I'll add a little overlay. That doesn't, use OBS and put an overlay of the reference. But so that I could show it side by side. So right now I'm looking at the monitor in front of me and I'm looking at my drawing pad. And it looks like to be where I want to. Control save. And I'm going to go Control 2 now just to see where it goes. So obviously it doesn't look very good. W, shade smooth. So what I did right there is just add the modifier. I added the modifier for the subdivision after the solidify. I will be applying the solidify eventually. But the problem now is, and then let me go into the modifier here. And in the modifier here, I'm going to check optimal display is fine, but I'm going to check that one so I can see the results when I see it. And likewise over here. It doesn't seem to affect it because this one's taken precedence. So that's fine. The reason I want this, okay, so I can add bevel modifiers and so on, but I'm not going to go for that. Ultimately, this model, when I finish with it, is not going to have anything in the modifier stack other than the subdivision modifier. So that's the only one that I want. Everything else, like the solidify, is going to be applied. So in this case, Control, Save, Tab. In case I would want this to be a little thicker, I would want to save. So I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to move it to collection, new collection, and I'm going to call it, well, I'll keep it as collection 3. So that's going to have all of my junk stuff in there. But for this one, the one that I'm working with, I'm going to apply that one. So now when I tab in, I have the edges to work with right here. So there's certain edges. Tab out, Control 0, tab back in. There are certain edges that have a certain angle that I want to keep sharper. In other words, so that the subdivision doesn't really affect on them. I can do them by beveling them, which I will do, but for now, just for the sake of getting it to look the way I want to, I'm going to do, first I'm going to do Shift G, and I'm going to, it's select similar. It brings up the select similar menu, but I'm going to select the ones that have the amount of angle between them. So there's length, direction, amount of faces around them, face angles. I'm going to choose that one. And it pretty much, there's parameters over here to change this, but it gave me pretty much the ones that I want. Everything else I want there, I want them to be rounded. And it's really pretty much, where the faces are 90 degrees. These are sharper, than more acute than 90 degrees. These are opening up, so it's very good. So Shift E, I'm going to go like that. And then just to make sure, I'm going to hit N to go back into the tool, or where is it? The item, rather. And make sure that the crease is all 1. Shift E brings this mean crease. You don't have to use Shift E. You can use, also the menus that come up. But basically I have at 1 for the crease. So now, when I go into the subdivision here, I get something that's a little bit more like it, even though it doesn't look very well. Whenever I do that increasing the creases there, it doesn't look very well. So I'm going to take these two that also need to, and this 3, all right, and then Shift E, bring them out all the way, and then just because I'm paranoid, I check that it's at 1. All right, so now it's looking more like the shape, and I'm gonna put it like this right now, and then very quickly, I don't know what I just started. I did something. I turned something off. Okay, so more or less the shape there versus there. And just toggling back and forth, I can see right now. I don't have to toggle. I'm doing that for the benefit of the viewer. I can just look at my screen. Is these right here, Shift E. So that makes these then a little bit more not so. This one too, right here, Shift E. All right, now I'm going to toggle back and forth again. All right, so that looks better to me. Looks like that works. All right, Control Save. So this one seems to work the way that it is. Ultimately, what I will do is bevel them, and I can always, add bevel modifier and also just try to limit either through, the options that are available there to see which ones would be beveled the same. And then I would call it done, but then I would be depending on the bevel modifier for the finished geometry. So, Control Save. Now, what I'm going to do is add a modifier, which is going to be the array. The array modifier, so it's already arraying it, but I want it to go in a circle. So, with my cursor selected, I'm going to add my cursor centered rather, I'm going to add an empty. Oh, not image, an empty. And I'm just going to call it in the sphere right there. I'm going to select that object again, and so here where it says object, I'm going to select that empty. I believe that's the way it works. Let me see, empty, and then rotate. There we go. So let me go back. So it is rotating it off the empty there. I don't want to merge anything just yet. Something looks a little different than when I worked for this last, but I don't want to merge first and last just yet. Is it constant? Oh, sorry about that. I just tapped the microphone. So here, I'm going to go 90. Well, it went down, but that's fine. So back to the modifier here, I went 90 and I want 4 of them. Or it says count 5. No, I want one too many, that's why. I want 4 of them. Okay. Now I got to see how these come together. Obviously, there's a problem. The problem is that I'm going to select everything. I went into the edit mode here, and the problem is that they're compounding here. So I'm going to grab in the X and then pull them out. I can eyeball this one, I think. Something's happening over here. Grab X. There is, okay, what I'm seeing there, by the way, what I am seeing there is the fact that the third collection is on. There's always a way to check. I use, for example, tab out in the object mode. If I hit 1, I bet you it's going to be gone. Grab X is gone. So what was showing is the collection. And the collections, if you go into the view over here, here, you can see which ones were on. So basically it was on, and as I was grabbing it in the X, I was seeing the one that I copied over for the sake of doing a little history, saving of work. Anyway, that is just to explain, because I guess, yeah, some people have commented on my videos that I just push buttons without saying anything. And then when I say stuff, it's like, oh, it's too slow. Nobody comments really. So like, share, and subscribe, and comment. All right. I'm going to eyeball it. So the corners really should be close, but not really, because I'm going to then meet two of these on the bottom and two of these on the top. I'll show this in a minute. So I'm going to grab X and then just get very close, but not close, not all the way. So tab out. So now that's looking a little bit better. I'm going to take that empty and move it also to the third collection. Control save. All right. I'm going to toggle this. Hopefully I don't screw this up again. Let me just... Seven. I saw some videos where people were using a program called PureRef, and I thought that'd be cool. But before downloading it, I said, well, I could do that in Blender. So all I have is Blender opened up over here, and all the images are imported as a plane. And I can just pan around and see it. So now I'm toggling it. It's close, but not quite. Number one, it's too high. Number two, number one is too high, yes. Number two, it's not thick enough as it comes down from where the table connects. So just a couple of changes. That's all. Let's get that going. So what I should have done really is gone back to the modifier tab, select that one, go to the modifier tab, and that's subdivision. I'm actually doing the array after the fact, so that's not good. I'm going to shove it beforehand. Okay, and basically just turn it off while I work with this. So I'm going to go back in here. So what I was saying is that it's not thick enough here. So I'm going to go into the wireframe in the edit mode, selecting all the vertices. What I'm going to do here is, since this is no longer reliant on the solidify. So in the solidify, I would have just been moving one vertex, no longer reliant. So now I have two vertices to move, but that's fine, because now you can just select these with box select and then just grab them. And I got two that are projecting all the way through, because I have my settings to X-ray for these wireframes. So I'll just move them. Now, one thing that can happen also, Alt-A, is, and I'm in the subdivided view, by the way, because it's necessary to get that smoothness. Otherwise, I'd be working and seeing only jagged edges or more straight edges between the points. I'm going to select those and then go Shift-H. So now I get to smooth out the curve, and what I'm going to do is do the proportional editing. So the proportional editing, by hitting O, I turn it on, or it's up here, is just mess with it a little bit. So Alt-A, C, grab, bring it down. I want it to affect the ones on the bottom as well. Maybe a little bit more. So one of them was that it was too high, right? Alt-A, Alt-H, just to see where I am. I should have brought the other one down with it, but I'll fix that in a minute. I just realized that. That's why I did. grab Z. Without the proportional editing, grab Z. And with the snaps, what's going on? Snaps are back at increment. I want vertex. I thought I did this already. Is it per object or something? I don't know. Control save. There's some noise happening outside. I have no idea what it is, but if it comes through, it's just part of the whole you know, recording at home kind of thing. All right, so now it's a little bit more, and now I can turn the modifier to see it more. Go to the solid view, shorter and a little thicker here in this area. So what I was concentrating on was the thickness in this area, and then just bringing it, make it shorter. Now I'll put it like this, and I'll toggle again. Close enough. This is going to be, ultimately, is not even going to, you know, it's like it needs to just work on its own. All right. So control save, take that one, shift duplicate it, and move it to collection 3. That's where I have saving my stuff. And now on this one, I'm going to apply this one. So now I only have the subdivision one. Let me see which ones I shall do. Alt A. So I'm going to hit link, basically to take those two. That's going to be the bottom one, as is can be seen. I'm just going to use the reference picture, but it doesn't really matter. Did I just do this? Okay, Control Z. I didn't apply it, so there. So, since I was showing everything else, what I did, it's already here. This is a copy of it. In collection number 3, collection 1, I took it and I copied it over and put in collection 3, except that I just didn't show the screen. And in collection 1, then I took the one that I'm working with, which is the original cube as seen over here, and I applied the modifier for the array. So it's no longer dependent on the array modifier. Now it has these 4 little, hooks. Now what I'm going to do is connect them the same way that it can be seen in here. So here you can see that it connects, the portion on the bottom that connects, and there's the portion at the top that connects. So I'm going to just do the bottom one first for the ones that I have selected. And I'm telling you, I'm turning stuff on and off, and this is not, I haven't practiced with that too much. So it's an interesting thing to consider right now, is that I need a point that meets in the middle for both of these, and I don't have it. What do I mean by that? If I go into the wireframe, it was premature. So it was premature, the application of this, modifier was premature. I'm going to delete it and then go to collection number 3, duplicate it, and then move it to collection number 1. So now hitting 1, I'm back in here again. Now I'm back in the modifier. I can isolate the object that I'm working with. And what do I mean? So what I meant was that even though right now I just did some work to make these be somewhat even, what I really need is, I need only 2 faces. One face that goes off that way on one case, and another face that goes off this way in the other case. But I have instead these 2. Now what I can do I think I can do this. Probably to the benefit rather than to the detriment. What I'm going to do is grab that. What I did is I used Alt to grab that loop. In the front view, I'm going to go GG and then just, without the snaps, push it up a little bit. And then Alt, select that loop, and then GG, pull it down a little bit. GG moves them along, slides them along their edge. So I'm going to do a Control R and cut a loop in there. So that gives me more. Alt A. So that kind of messed my curve, but that's fine. I don't have the proportional editing on, so I'm just going to slowly move that one to where I think it's curvy enough. And then tab out, go Control 0, go back in here, and since I have that curve now, I am going to turn my annotations back on. So you can see my reference is way totally off now, but that's fine. What I can do is go into my annotation tools, hit a plus here, turn off the one that I was working on, and then just work on the one on the new one. And in the new one, by holding the D down, I'm going to trace that. Not a very good trace, but let me see. I don't like it. All right, let's do it right. The thing about these pads, these tablets, is that, I don't know, but there's just too much friction between the palm. And I see they sell some of these gloves, and now I understand why they sell some of these gloves that only have 2 finger. They only have like 2, here, what am I? Oh, and now I know what I turned off. There. Okay, they only have the 2 finger gloves. And I understand the purpose of them now. It's so that you don't have what I just experienced, which is a little bit of drag from the moisture of the palm on the glass of the surface. And it makes it hard to make straight lines when it's so slick with the pen. The pen itself is so slick, so you don't have that same friction that you would get if you're holding a pencil, if you wanted to just move your entire arm, let's say. So you're left with a sliding motion you have to do with the pinky. Anyway. All right. I went into the unsubdivided view just so I can see this and maybe just organize these a little bit better. Alt A. I keep doing the circle select even though I don't have to. I mean, now Blender's set up, by default it has that box. Select. So if I'm not encumbered by other vertices around there. Also, in the default settings, which I'm not working with, Shift. And so, like for example, I still have the right click select with the left click brings that cursor wherever it goes. But if you do a drag, you can do that. But in the new ones, I think if you just click somewhere, do a left click somewhere, I think it deselects for you. Which is fine. I just haven't gotten accustomed to doing it. The left click select, I mean. If I did, I would then change my pen to work or emulate the style that I'm used to. I may at one point in time. I just found it easier to keep the program at right click select. So that's why some of my videos maybe are not grab Y, Z, rather grab Z. So I'm just going to smooth these out in the unsubdivided view. Now I think there's no importance there for keeping these to be flat. No real importance, I don't think. Very carefully. And this one's a little bit lower. So let's just put it right there. Tab. All right. And then go Control 2. There. It's not super smooth, but I don't care. It's good. Now what I can do is Control Save, is go back and see that. All right, so in collection 3 I have an old version. I can delete it in collection 1, duplicate it, and then move it to collection 3. In collection 1, so I don't get confused, I'm going to rename it by the name. I mean, there's no longer a cube, period, cube. So I'm going to rename it cube because I deleted the first one. Control Save. And then that grease pencil does seem to follow the shape. It's a little low here, but that's fine. All right, I can erase that one. I did not erase the initial grease pencil that I started with just because I can give myself an idea of what was my target and where I ended up. Control Save. Now, apply this modifier on this one. Now go back in here, Alt A, and go L and L, and Shift H, just so that I can then see which ones. So I'm going to join, this one's going to be the ones on the bottom. So I'm going to go to the face selection, select those faces, and then delete them. Delete faces, and I'm going to do the edge selection. Select these edges for now. I'm going to so in this case, I'm going to go into the crease and make them 0. Because now I'm going to go Control E and then do, I just hit the microphone again, I think. Bridge edge loops. All right, that looks good. Take that one and increase the crease on that one. So that looks good. And then take that and make a face of it. And increase the crease on that one as well. Control Save. All right. Now, there's going to be a very small amount, grab Z, of overlap if I don't bring it down. So now we're starting to see it. Alt H, take that one, and or rather do a link, Shift H, tab in the, not tab, Alt A. I get confused myself. So take these two faces, There's another way to do this also that's kind of easy as well sometimes. Like for example, I've done it before. I've done extruded those faces, and excuse me. Easy is just, it's depends on what people want to think, whether it's easy or not. What I'm not showing here, I just noticed that. I think, why is it that I'm not seeing? Oh, here's my options. There's an option over here in the corner. Let me make sure that it shows. There's an option up here. Normally, it's in here as well. I think it's the auto merge. So there's that little button right there. And what I can do right now, making sure that I'm off the medium point, is scale in the Y, and then scale them to 0. 0. Enter. So what that did is that scale them. And so, just to show, this is supposed to be easy, but I'm explaining it. So what it is, scale them to 0. It merged those vertices based on the auto merge. Now I have these faces, and I go X faces. So, and then I have a loop, which if I don't want it, I don't have a loop on the other one, I can just do Control X on the edges. And that did the process that I was just doing, which is the merge the vertice, do a bridge edge loop and then fill in the face and so on and so forth. So anyway, just another way to do that. I'm going to choose that face right there, go Shift E, go all the way. Now I forgot to do this. I wanted to do, I should have done it initially, but right now I'm selecting the edges that I do not want. I can always go like that, go to the 0, but you'll never get there because you have to find the point. So it's better just to put it over here. And now there's this edge and that edge. There you go. Alt H, tab out, look in the wire in the solid mode. So now we have it. Control save. So now there are two interlocking. Alt A, Alt H, Alt A. Now they are two interlocking objects. They look like they're a little close though. And for that, I'm going to see how it works with the bevel right now. Control save again. What I mean by that is that if I go link, grab Z, you can see that they interlock and they come together. Control save. All right. That seems to be good. To me. Let me see how it's going to look with a matte cap. So, yeah, there isn't anything really that's going to, other than maybe the one that I normally use for sculpting, which is the clay. But what I was looking, so you can select here whether you want, they call it cavity, I think, the ambient occlusion or something like that, just to give you an idea how it's going to look here where they come together. Because in the reference, you better remember to put this back. You can see the shadows there, you know, they really make it stick out so that it's an interlocking form. And when you model and you make it too perfect, like here, you can't even appreciate that. So you really need to have the, I guess, the manufacturing tolerances and mistakes is what make it look all right. Yeah, everything works right now. If I control save. So this one works for me. Shift, duplicate it again and move it to collection 3. Why? Because I'm going to do something, obviously, Alt A. I'm going to do destructive process, obviously. I selected one edge that has the crease. I'm going to go Shift G to select the creased edges. So I have all the creased edges right now, and then I'm going to start experimenting with the bevel, and then just go Control B. And I can use the mouse and give it just one tiny edge right in there. That's because in the picture it looks like, normally when I do my creases, I like this. It gives a nice smooth round. But I'm losing some of that on the corners. So I'm going to give it just one, just to try to keep some of those corners. And I can still try to, see they still look a little sharp to me, the corners. And I can see that there's a little bit of a problem happening where they interlock. So right now I'm just going to go this far. And then select everything. And then Shift E. Make sure that the crease is all the way. So what I did, okay, so now that's what I was talking about. I can see this. It's nicer. It works even though there's artifacts because that bevel process does not. It works great for all the other ones, but when you get to certain places like that, sometimes it becomes a little bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go link, Shift H, and then see what the problem is. And then obviously, yeah, the problem is that it's stretching. So it's happened before. So how can I fix that? Probably the best way is to try to increase the amount of, let me bring it down, the amount of loops. That's the only way I know how to do it, is what's happening is that the stretching that's happening by these long ones over here, they tend to then stretch that point into the point where it just can't. Right now that seemed to fix it. I don't see a need for putting a loop in here. If I do put a loop in here, I have to go back and massage this to this point over here to meet the curvature. So that seemed to fix it. Hit the microphone again, sorry. And if you look in here, yeah, a little bit of artifacts, but not so much. Let me look at this one then. Especially when you render it with concrete. Like concrete, if you're going to do the concrete look, it's like some of that stuff doesn't really, I don't think it's going to be appreciated unless I'm going to have the camera right there. Let's say this is the world where ants live in this crevice of the table, so maybe there I would want to make it better. But in this case, no. There's Alt H. I forgot to do the control link to get that one. Shift H to hide it. And now I'm going to appreciate this one for what it is. And I think this one also, even though it doesn't have it, I'm going to do it. Control B. Control Z. Shift H. I did Control B instead of Control R. Control R just to add one in there. That actually makes it better already, but I'm going to give it the same amount of cuts as the other one. Alt H. Well, let me see. Now, this is also critical to be done, is to be explored without there. So obviously there's a problem. Maybe in the way I hit things, or maybe Alt H. Alt A, link, hide. Here, there's the problem. The problem is that these edges here and here are lapping underneath this one. And so if you do that working in the unsubdivided view, and if you do that work in the subdivided view where you have the optimal display and you see the cage, the edit cage, you get problems like this. So I'm going to scale in the X and bring them over, just so that I don't have that kind of condition. So here you have this kind of problem with the bevel. The only other way to get rid of this problem with the bevel here is if you put loops, they run all the way down here. In other words, I would have to then get, if I really wanted to fix this, I would have to get this to maybe have some loops, some of these coming around like this, beveling this one. If not, maybe just having the triangle come out like this to where you don't have this kind of condition. That's why it tends to pinch and stuff like that. But anyways, continuing some of these loops in a way that they don't do this. But Control 2. I get confused myself now with all the changes and everything. So, and I still sometimes go back and use 2.7.9, 2.7. Okay, tab in there, Alt H. So that fixed, the problem that I had. In other words, I had stretched them way too much. The clamping wasn't on when I did the bevel. That's why I did that. And that's one of the changes that you see here in 2.8 and up, is that before, when you did a bevel, you did a loop cut and then you beveled it across, I think it had clamped. I can't remember exactly. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. All right. Alt H, Alt A, link, Shift H. I forgot to unsubdivide it. And this one's fine because I didn't go too far with it. There's no, crisscrossing, overlapping kind of stuff happening. So, let's move on. Control save. So that's the unsubdivided view. This is the subdivided view. Looks smoother, so on and so forth. Control save. I'm going to put the cursor right up there, just to make sure that the cursor is centered. I'm going to go to the view, and in the X and the Y, I'm going to put 0. It's on top where it needs to be, but now I'm going to add a cylinder, a mesh, a cylinder. Oh, I keep doing this. Sorry about that. It's I have a little cap on. I always put it on because I don't care what headset I've gotten, the strap that goes over your head on the headset, it always in the long run ends up just bugging you on the top of the head. So I use the cap because then I should turn it backwards next time. All right, because that actually helps that. Even if you try to get the headsets with the cushion and stuff like that, it still bugs on the top of the head in the long run. All right, vertices. I'm going to go 8. That's fine. And I can mess with the parameters here, but I find that to be too slow, at least for my taste. All I do is off the medium point here, scale and the Z, get rid of the snapping, and then maybe just get to where I think I want it, and then scale Shift Z to where I think I want it. Tab out, Control 2, tab back in. Let me make sure that this is the way I want it. So W shade smooth with the subdivision modifier here is gonna basically make it round. I probably should have gone 16. Why am I stingy with this one? I don't know. So I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna go Shift at mesh, another cylinder, and this one I'm gonna make it 16. I get stingy because my computer used to be really, I used to work with a very slow computer. In the Z axis, scale it in the Z, scale Shift Z to right around there. So that's why. Tab out. Well, no, I think I want to, in the edit mode, grab everything in the Z until it looks like it just barely rests on top of the table. That puts the origin maybe not so much on that face, which is fine. I can fix that by choosing that one, snapping the cursor to the active or to the selected. Tab out, W, set origin to the 3D cursor. So that makes sure the origin's in the bottom of this table. All right. I think I like it like that. Control 2, go ahead and make sure that that's where it needs to be. W shade smooth. It does look like it needs to be a little bit bigger. Maybe just a little bit. Select everything. Scale Shift Z. All right. So I'm going to select the face selection, select that 2 faces over there, and Shift E, just to make it start doing what I was doing earlier, which is, there's not too much to this really, so I don't really need to do that. Control Z. I'm just going to inset them. I did extrude, which is not right. Control Z. Okay, there. Have them 2, and then just inset them a little bit, which is going to be similar to like just doing a bevel. Now what I wanted, I'm going to try to duplicate. This, just because it looks a little bit more interesting. So that's why I left it a little thick. And I think right now I'm thinking I may have left it a little thin. Very simply, I'm just going to do a Control R loop here. Control B to about there. And then using Alt, select those. Do another bevel there. Now Control R here, and then scale that, Shift Z, bring it out further. A little bit more. I'm going to exaggerate it, and then Control B, down like that, and tab out, Control 2, and there. That's it. Not much more than that. Control Save. Now I'm going to select the face selection, select these 2 again. Let me make sure I'm on the unsubdivided view, and I'm going to inset them again. and again, and again, this time all the way to the center. And oh, maybe scale Shift Z just a tiny bit more out, and then inset them just once more. Okay, so I should have two faces that are let me tab out, Shift H, tab back in. I should have two faces there that are going to do create just the hole is what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude them, and I still have the auto merge on. I'm going to scale them. Well, first make sure that I'm in the medium point, scale them Z to 0. So if I look in the wireframe, it's there, X face, it's gone, and then in the edge selection, take that edge and then Control B. Just put another bevel and then maybe just one in the center. Just one. I can barely see it, but I'm sure that maybe this doesn't even come across in the compression of this video. So what that does, creates a bevel there for this hole. Tab out, Control 2. Nice round smooth hole. All right, Control Save, Alt H. There's that. Control Save, and see what time. How long have I been recording? It's already an hour. I want the same. Oh man, I should have done it. Sorry about that again. I'm going to do that right now. Switch the cap. Okay. Yeah, so this is one of those things, if I had foresight, I want that same treatment on the chairs themselves, on the benches, I mean. And 7. And okay, well, I still have to do it for every bench. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking that if I had modeled the benches also, I could have done this process on all of them. Too bad. Too bad. I see that I could possibly still salvage that, and I'll show how. Some of the work, I mean, Alt H. All right. Select everything. Shift duplicate in the Z. Well, all right. I made a big mistake, and I just I was already chugging along, and then I realized I wasn't showing the screen. I was showing the reference screen. So now I'm back here showing the screen. I pretty much got far along with doing the bench, but I'm going to redo it for the benefit. I'm going to have to edit this and redo it. I stopped the recording. So let me just get back into it then. It's just one of those things that happen. So anyway, what I was doing is Alt H. I was almost already done with the bench here, but Control Save. I'm going to move that, take tab out and move that to collection number 3. Excuse me. Yeah. What I had done, that little edge right there is essentially, so I don't do it again because I did it already once, but what I did is I took an edge from there to there. I separated it and I brought it over here as a reference for the profile that I was going to do for the bench. So unfortunately I did that without actually recording the screen. So that's just P to separate the selection, and then that leaves it a little floating edge that I just brought over here. Alt A. So I have that as a reference here. What I forgot to show, I guess, is that, you know, I went ahead and put the mouse in there, and excuse me, and then went back, and that puts it on top of the surface of that bench, and then went and centered it, and there I'm going to add a cylinder. Okay. I had so the process and the few minutes that are a gap in between when I stopped recording and now, or the gap is that I had initially just tried to copy that bench over and then use it, but it didn't work because I realized that if I were to take this bench and take a couple of pie wedges out, it leaves the benches kind of small because you have to take only these two. So I have increased the number of cylinder edges there to 32. And so that doubles them up, and then that gives me, what I'm going to use is this cylinder, similar process as I did with that, just to create the wedge, or rather take smaller wedges, or imagine the half of that wedge. I hope that makes any sense. I'll explain it here in a minute. So, but I did record this, but it's showing just a tiny screen up here on top. That it's not good. Scale Z, without the snaps, and then just eyeball it so it's the same thickness. I'll fix it here in a minute. I already have a reference over here. And now scale Shift Z and bring it out. Since I have this edge right here, I can get a very close approximation to where I was before, because I basically eyeballed it already before. So choosing the, well, before I do much of that, I'm going to choose the face, that one, and then choose the vertices. Make that one the active. No, make that one the active. They're very close. They're very close on top and on the bottom. But if I wanted to make them, to be the exact same height as the other one, grab Z. I just do a snap to that profile that I copied from the other table, So now they're the exact same thickness. So now if I select the edges here, the faces rather, and then inset them the same as I did previously, I'm going to go to the top view, and in the wireframe, scale Shift Z, and then just give me an idea more or less of where I can stop so that it leaves room there for the feet. And now I still have this button on over here, which is the auto merge. So I'm going to extrude them, and then making sure that I'm off the medium point scale in the Z to 0. Is it taking the 0 or not? To 0. Okay, did I extrude twice or what? Let me grab, nope, scale Z to 0. Still gives me the extrude. Scale Z to 0. There, enter. Because of the snaps, probably. It's snapping to some point in there. X face, and in the edges, select that edge, Control X. 7. So now, here's the bench. So every angle here that's coming off of 45 degrees is what's going to be removed. And there's 45 degrees. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go. X faces. So that's the bench. I'm not going to... Oh, I added it. I added it with the table, the bench. That's fine. It's with the table. I'm not going to worry about doing these separately. That's what I was doing in the video earlier that I'm going to cut out. I'm just going to do the array, delete the vertices for that one, link this one, P selection, tab out, take that one, and now add an array modifier. Add an array, make sure that it's on top of the subdivision modifier. I'm going to end up having 5, and it's going to be based on an object. And I already created myself previously when I was recording nothing, an empty but I'm going to create another one anyways. Shift add empty, the sphere. It's empty O2, so I can just select this one and go here, just type M for empty and select O2. And then take that one and rotate it, the Z, 90 degrees. It is spiraling because the center of this object is up there. The empty is down here. So all I gotta do is take that one and make sure that the center is at the 3D cursor where the empty was originated as well. So now we have those other three that are coming in. We can view it, and it looks right. Now all I got to do is just add the little bevels, and then we can call it good for the table. All right, and that's long enough video for that. So let me just turn this off for a second. Go back into the edit mode, select the edges here, select the face. The edges there, make a face rather. Here as well, make a face. Excuse me. All right. I haven't had breakfast. Control R. So my stomach is growling. I don't know if this it started just a little while ago. Don't have to say, but I don't know if it comes across the microphone or not. All right, in the front view, Control B. I'm going to do the same process that I did over there. And then select those two again, Control B, very tiny bit. Control R here, Control B, right around there. I'm eyeballing it here. And then off the medium point. It'll have to be the medium point, and it's not going to work. I already did it. It doesn't work here because the medium point itself is somewhere right around here. So while I'm scaling things off the medium point and it matches its profile here, scale Shift Z to come up here. Let's say that looks pretty good, pretty close to the profile. So I'm like, yeah, that's good, great. It doesn't so much over here because the distance between this and the center point and the medium point is smaller. Therefore, the scale or the amount of distance that it went out is smaller. And it also looks like it may have gone too far on these edges over here. How do I fix that? Well, I'm going to go Shift H, and then use the edge selection, select that edge, and then use the 3D cursor, and then use the proportional editing, make sure it's on, and then scale Shift Z. Actually, I don't think I want any of these to move either. I don't want that edge to move either. So Alt-A. I'll just do a circle select for these edges and hide them. So go back to that one edge and then scale. It's actually moving this edge as well. Already sticks out plenty, so I'm going to hide those as well. 7, tab out. Now from here I can get an idea how much it comes out from here to here, right? Versus from here to here. So here I'm going to draw myself just an eyeball of how much I think this one has to come out. Oh, I do want these to come out. Wow, look at that. They're not coming out too much. Okay, I get it now. Tab out. So Alt-H again. I'm going to go to the face selection. I'm going to go using Control and Alt, select that loop again, Shift H. All right, so it is going to influence these, which is fine. So like that, and there's my little grease pencil mark, and then the proportional lighting is on, scale, Shift Z. Well, let me go in the top view, scale, Shift Z, there it is. I'm too close. Scale, Shift Z, just to see how it affects the other ones. And here I can go and see how it affects the other ones. It didn't do these ones too much. Yeah, these actually came out of the circle. So if I go back in here and select these, no, not so much these, just these two. And I tab out. I'm going to scale them in to about here. Tab in there, scale, Shift Z. .3D cursor. Oh, I moved my 3D cursor. I moved the 3D cursor. That's why. Put it back at 0. Scale, Shift Z, right around there. Eyeball it. Okay, that works better. Now, the problem here then is this one sticks too much. This one sticks out too much as well. And these are way off to where they should be. So I can fix that a little bit by using the face selections. And I'm going to, off the 3D cursor still, oh, my table is off from the center. I didn't even realize that. I wonder if I was scaling off the, no, it looks symmetrical. It looks symmetrical. I think I was just doing off medium point scales, and I never centered the cursor. I may have just centered the rotations. Who knows? I just noticed that. My tabletop is off the cursor. I will fix that here in a minute. Yep, mistakes happen. It's good to be able to recognize them and fix them though. All right, from here I'm going to rotate it just ever so slightly. And here it's going to tell me the amount. And I went -0.3. So I'm going to go -0.3. That works. So now I'm going to select that face right there. And then rotate. And then go 0.3. Tab out. So that just brings them in just a tiny bit. There. Now Alt A, tab in, Alt H, deselect everything, and go Control minus. Make sure what's happening here. It doesn't really recognize the Control minus or plus kind of thing. So instead, I will select that one, that loop of faces, and then go Control plus, Shift H. All right, what I was going to do is just move some of these vertices back. So I go into the vertex selection, I can just select these two here, and then rotate Z without the proportional editing, just rotate Z, and then with the snap it to that. Rotate Z, snap, rotate Z, and snap. It was snapping to the thing in the back there. Rotate Z, snap. There. Okay, so that's better. Control 2, W, shade smooth. Tab in there, Alt H. Control B, no, Control R here, and then Control B, just so those corners aren't so I want to make sure I don't go past too far. And Control R. Okay, so that does the bench right there. Control save. I'm going to take that edge right there and then move it to collection 3 where I have all the junk. Alt H, and then back in here, the array modifier. Wrong one. Okay, so I forgot what I was showing there. I was showing something. Don't know what. All right. Control 2. That looks good. This looks good. Move that to collection 3. The problem then is that I probably did not pay attention. I did not center. That one. So what I'm going to do is go back and make sure that I'm just going to select one circle, which is that one right there. Shift snap, cursor to selected. Tab out, make sure that the origin is at that. All right. And then in the item over here, I will make it 0. So now it's centered. Shift C, there it is. It does not look like I made too much of a grievous mistake there because I think when I was scaling it wasn't off the 3D cursor. Since the circle was off, if I had been scaling off the 3D cursor with, you know, just with the erroneously thinking that I was centered and I was, this 3D cursor was at the center, which is the same as the origin of the object, I would have had more problems, but it looks to be correct right now for that table. Control save. All right. The next most, obviously, this is what, now an hour and a half's worth of work, actual work, with add mistakes, it's 2 hours to get this, but now I have a finished product that I can then start, you know, either giving materials and so on. The materials process takes a while. And I don't want to make this video any longer. Although, if I did that, I could present it as a finished product and it would look a lot nicer, but that's the way it is in my channel. Okay, well, thank you for watching. This is going to be it right here. I'm going to leave it like that and maybe modeling, I don't know what I'll call it, modeling a concrete table. Yeah, that's what I'll call it, modeling a concrete table, and then hopefully people will check it out. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye. Maybe I'll do a video where I do the materials. I'm going to experiment with this particular one to see if I can paint some stuff, and I've been messing around with the paint settings or to do texture painting. Not conventionally the way that Blender necessarily does it, but so that I can use it as a painter program in a sense, because I plan to do some concept sketches and stuff like that, which Krita is awesome. I already downloaded it. I've been working with it and it's great. Blender has the 3D capability and the grease pencil capability, so I kind of forced it anyway so I can do that. And so when I was working with that, I decided it would be great if I could also use it and set up a way that I can come in here and then paint on these 3D objects as well with layers. That's the whole process that I did there, is just try to give myself layers that I could then use to layer up the drawing, layer up the painting. And so procedural materials for concrete and this, that I think procedural materials will work great. It'll take a while for me to figure out how to do a procedural material to give me what I want. Sometimes it's easier if you have an idea what you want, and then sometimes maybe just to see if you can paint them on. But maybe I'll record that, maybe not. Depends on how it goes. Thank you for watching, and goodbye once again. Thank you. Bye.